Welcome to Facts TV News, where everything is true.
Jamaica News in Review. Business as usual in Western Jamaica as cabbies stay on the job. It is business as usual with taxi operators in the western end of the country so far, despite an announcement that there would be an island-wide withdrawal of services to press the government to offer an amnesty on overdue traffic tickets. It appears the call to strike did not go out to some cabbies outside of the corporate area. People working, because I went out this morning and I look, and persons are going about their business taking passengers, President of the St. James Taxi Association, Dan Chance, told reporters. Over in Hanover, no disruptions were reported. In Trelawney, there are reports that Holland High School has moved classes online apparently as a precautionary measure. There were no reports of cabbies withdrawing their services. There were no reports of service disruption in St. Anne as well. Bring back my gun. Member of Parliament for Kingston Eastern and Port Royal, Philip Powell, is appealing to the person who stole his licensed firearm to use the present gun amnesty to hand it over to the police. Powell, the leader of the opposition business in the House of Representatives, told reporters that one evening in early July he was headed home, having dropped off his close protection officer, when he had to make an emergency stop in the Upper St. Andrew community of Hope Pastures. I stopped for less than 8 minutes, and by the time I came out, I saw that the back window of my vehicle was smashed, and when I rushed to the car, I saw that the bag which had it in my pouch with my firearm was gone. The bag was on the floor of the vehicle because that is where I would normally keep it when my security person is driving the vehicle, said Powell. He added that he reported the theft to the police immediately and gave a statement to the Firearm Licensing Authority (FLA). According to Powell, he supports the gun amnesty introduced by the government and wants people with illegal guns, including his own, to turn them in through whatever means. The amnesty opened on Saturday, November 5th, and is slated to end midnight on Saturday, November 19th. Under the amnesty, illegal guns can be handed over to a sub-officer or senior sub-officer on duty at any police station, any designated officer at the FLA location, or to an attorney at law or pastor on behalf of an individual seeking the amnesty. I am urging everybody to take in the illegal guns, including that person or persons who would have been involved in the stealing of my own firearm in early July. I am saying to them, take back my gun and give it to the authority. It is a very old firearm. I have had it for more than 20 years, added Powell. With the police investigating the disappearance of his firearm and a possibility that he could face criminal charges, Powell was adamant that he was not careless. You know these things? They are normally seen as negligence, but I wasn't negligent. I was dealing with an emergency. I locked my vehicle, rushed inside, and when I came back the window was smashed, declared Powell. Under Section 54 of the Firearms Prohibition, Restriction and Regulation Act 2022, the holder of a firearm permit shall report that if it is lost or stolen within 24 hours after the holder discovers the loss or theft to the police and to the FLA. A person who, without reasonable excuse, fails to make a report within 24 hours commit an offense. Section 74 of the Act indicates that the holder of a firearm permit should ensure that each firearm and all ammunition are safely stored in accordance with such standards as said be prescribed so that no other person can gain access to the firearm or ammunition. Strong security presence in Homestead Saint Catherine following shooting death of man. Members of the security forces were at their hour maintaining a noticeable presence in Homestead Saint Catherine following an early shooting incident in a section of the community which left one man dead. According to reports, sometime after 4 o'clock yesterday morning, residents reported hearing what sounded like gunfire. Later checks were made inside a house in Pittsburgh Avenue, and a male resident was discovered near his bed with what appeared to be several gunshot wounds. 5 spent casings were retrieved from the crime scene. Investigators say the deceased has been identified as Orlando Bennett, alias Bugsy, of a Pittsburgh address. It's unclear whether Mr. Bennett was alone at home at the time of the attack. Investigators say the motive for his killing remains unclear. In the meantime, St. Catherine North investigators have also been called to another shooting scene in Rosemont, Linstead. No immediate details are available at this time with the second shooting. Firearms stolen in Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth. The police have launched a manhunt for 2 men who stole the loaded licensed firearm of a businessman in Santa Cruz, St. Elizabeth. It's reported that about 2 p.m., the businessman parked his Toyota Tacoma truck on the compound of a plaza in Santa Cruz to conduct business in a nearby store. Two men traveling in a gray Nissan Sylphy later drove into the plaza. It's reported that they threw a brick into the front passenger window of the businessman's truck, entered and stole a bag containing his licensed firearm, along with 16 rounds of ammunition. The robbers made good their escape. Double murder in downtown Kingston. Gunmen carried out a deadly attack in downtown Kingston, leaving two men dead. The deceased have been identified as 61-year-old Nevertont of West Bay, Garvey Meadows in Homestead Saint Catherine, and 43-year-old Michael James, a businessman of Luke Lane, Kingston. The men were fatally shot at a juice outlet along Luke Lane. About 8 o'clock, Mr. James and Mr. Tate were at the juice outlet when two armed men walked up and opened fire at them. Mr. Tate died on the spot while Mr. James died while receiving treatment at the Kingston Public Hospital. No motive has been established for the killings. Mayor calls for an increase in motor vehicle license fees to help finance fixing roads. Mayor of Port Murray and Chairman of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation, Richard Query, is calling for an increase in motor vehicle license fees to help finance the fixing of the roads. Mr. Query made the suggestion at the recent Municipal Corporation meeting. Mr. Query, who said the monthly allotment to councils was insufficient, argued that the absence of a dedicated source of funds makes it difficult to maintain and repair the roads, and I don't think any motorist would have a problem paying an increase motor vehicle license if those funds are utilized to provide them with better roads to traverse on. Island Traffic Authority reviewing deadline for paying outstanding tickets. The Island Traffic Authority has responded to call to extend the deadline for the payment of outstanding tickets, stating that it intends to review the time limit. Director of the Island Traffic Authority, Kenny Hart, recently pointed out that under the Road Traffic Act 2018, which the regulations bring into effect, the driver's license of a motorist with one outstanding ticket will not be renewed. The ITA director says the consideration to review the deadline was based on the feedback from members of the public in favor of extending the deadline. The regulations, which introduce new offenses and increased fines for traffic violations, bring the Road Traffic Act 2018 into effect, was approved by Parliament in July. Two men arrested for allegedly stealing oranges. Swift action by the Bagwalk Police in Saint Catherine on Saturday led to the apprehension of two men with stolen oranges valued over $200,000. The men were held on a property owned by Tradewind Citrus Limited. Laborers Kevor Campbell, 20, and Luke Gill, 21, both of West Prospect District in Bagwalk, have been charged for murder larceny. It is reported that about 8 p.m., the police were on patrol when they saw the men and accosted them. Checks allegedly reveal that they had 29 bags of oranges. The men were arrested and subsequently charged. Both accused are scheduled to appear in the St. Catherine Parish Court in Linstead on November 16. Manchester taxi operator accused of robbing woman at gunpoint. A Manchester taxi operator has been charged with robbery with aggravation following an incident in St. Andrew on October 31st. He is 32-year-old Roman Robinson of Wint Road, Mandeville. The Halfway Tree police say a woman entered a Toyota Probox taxi with 3 men aboard near Papine in St. Andrew. They say while traveling along Old Hope Road, one of the men brandished a firearm, held up the woman and robbed her of an iPhone valued at $95,000 and $500. The woman escaped without injury. She reported the incident to the police, and Robinson was taken into custody later that same day. He was charged on Saturday after being pointed out in an identification parade. Man seen in viral video intimidating passengers in protest charged. Police say the man seen in the viral video harassing and intimidating passengers in a taxi in downtown Kingston during Monday's strike has been charged. 32-year-old Ramon Silveiro of Kellyman Terrace, Kingston 11, is charged with assault at common law, disorderly conduct, and indecent language. He is scheduled to appear before the Kingston and St. Andrew Parish Court on January 12 next year. JUCC says passengers injured, buses damaged in protest. The Jamaica Urban Transit Company, JUTC, is reporting that several passengers were injured and 2 buses damaged in separate incidents on Monday when taxi drivers and other transport operators staged protests across the country to press their demand for a traffic ticket amnesty. Corporate Communications Manager at the JUTC, Cecil Toms, said at approximately 3:20 p.m., a Route 97 bus which plans the downtown Kingston to Bull Bay Road was traveling along the intersection to Windward Road and South Camp Road when passengers began shouting that they were having difficulty breathing. Toms explained that there was an altercation between students, one of whom dispensed pepper spray inside the bus. The driver reportedly opened the front door to get passengers out of the unit, while other passengers reportedly broke the side glass of the unit, both right and left, in a bid to exit the bus. It is understood that police personnel who were passing by observed what was happening and provided assistance. The student who released the pepper spray was pointed out and was taken into police custody, Tom said. He outlined that in the second incident, a stone was hurled inside a bus traveling from Halfway Tree to Spanish Town on Route 32B in the vicinity of Eastwood Park Road and Courtney Watts Drive around 7:40 p.m. One passenger was injured, but his wounds are not considered life-threatening. The bus was intercepted by the police along Waterloo Boulevard, Marvelly, and a male passenger was taken to hospital, Tom shared. The JUCC is encouraging persons who filmed the two incidents and anyone else who may have information to provide same to the police to help in their investigations. They are also pleading with those who seek to perpetrate violence, the hoodlums who engage in this reckless practice of throwing stones on our bus, to stop it. Such actions only severely diminish the service we provide to the traveling public and endanger their lives, Thoms remarked. Parchment Brown completes term as political ombudsman. Political ombudsman Donna Parchment Brown has announced yesterday as her last day in office. In a letter to the media yesterday afternoon, she noted that her appointment expires on November 15, 2022. Thank you to everyone who in any way assisted me in carrying out my duties, Parchment Brown said. Parchment Brown took office on November 16, 2015. She was appointed to the office after many years as dispute resolution specialist and attorney. She earned national recognition for her work in dispute resolution and is the holder of the Order of Distinction, Commander Class. Lawyer charged with fraud for alleged non-payment of over 100 Jamaican million in property sale. Attorney at law Maurice McCurdy had been charged with fraudulent conversion over the alleged non-payment of more than 100 million Jamaican dollars in the sale of commercial property for a client in St. James. He was charged by the fraud squad on Monday and granted station bail in the sum of 2 million Jamaican dollars, the police stated. He is scheduled to make his first court appearance on January 19, 2023. The allegations surrounding the state of the property for US $5.5 million McCurdy held carriage of sale. The client complained that after the sale went through earlier this year, the sum of more than US $800,000, 120 million Jamaican dollars, remained outstanding, the police said. A report was made to law enforcement, resulting in the investigation. McCurdy is a St. James-based lawyer. No throat to NWC strike rumors, utility company says. The National Water Commission, NWC, is denying rumors being circulated on social media of a strike at the company. It said the claim is entirely mischievous, as there is absolutely no truth to the declaration. The NWC said members of the public should ignore the claim. Additionally, members of the public should be aware that there are persons who, based on their misguided or selfish agenda, may have an interest in spreading wide and unfounded assertions, which can only cause panic or undue alert in the society, it continued in the release stated late Tuesday. It added that persons should trust information only if it is from the NWC or from reputable sources, including established media. Another gun handed over to police.
On Friday, November 11, 2022, at approximately 4:15 p.m., an individual came to the Montego Bay police station and handed over to us a plastic bag containing a Smith & Wesson firearm and 40.38 live rounds. This weapon was handed over under the gun amnesty that is currently in place. The St. James Police were happy for this gesture, and we continue to encourage members of the public to hand over any illegal weapon that they may come in contact with, whether it is that it was found, whether it is that they had it in their possession.
PSOG supports declaration of states of emergency across several parishes. The Private Sector Organization of Jamaica, PSOG, has expressed support for the declaration of the states of emergency in response to crime wave across the island. The imposition of the SOEs followed a 6% hike in murders as at November 13. George Overton, chairman of the PSOG's Standing Committee on National Security and Justice, believes the security measure is warranted to suppress the number of homicides and shootings. I think it's going to bring a balance because I believe that the fear that exists within these communities will have an equal impact as to the imposition of the state of emergency. I think even so, maybe the state of emergency will have improved movement within those communities because people will feel safer in moving around, Mr. Overton reasoned. He has repeated the PSOG's call for greater collaboration between the government and the parliamentary opposition on matters of national security. I believe that the opposition's position is clear. Based on the court ruling of a previous state of emergency, they have stood their ground on their position. What I believe has been missing is a dialogue between the opposition and the government to try and arrive at an agreement on a way forward in dealing with this level of crime and violence, he pointed out.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification